Hello again. I'm Velin Obiero, and this is a platform hosted by laffordteletherapycounsellors. Counselors. We are glad to have another time to share, learn and relearn. And today we are hosting Judith from Kampala, Uganda. We have been sharing, and I have heard a story several times, but I'm always intrigued by it. I just love listening to um, the passions she has, the drive that keeps her going. And I think Judy is someone that we have met in different forums, and she's always in social media space a lot. And yeah, it's always good to learn from people. And today I want Judy just to give us good stories, give us walk us through her journey with mental health. And I think her story was honest enough. And now, today, we are going to talk about honest conversations about mental health. And yeah, I'm going to listen, and she's going to talk to us. And hope you listen with us. Hope you spend the hour with us. So, Judy, welcome, and you can take over.
Thank you so much, Belen, for this opportunity to share my story once again, and this time a more passionate one on mental health. My name is Judith Akite from Uganda. I help women through fertility challenges and the emotional toll that comes with this journey and life's transitions. We are always in a move. There, there's a way life has been designed that you move from one stage to the other. And that's what I basically do. I'm a certified life coach, and I also offer fertility coaching, and so passionate about mental health, the reason I am here. So I don't know if I should go right into the story time. Will there be a guide of sorts? Because I have quite a number of stories. Almost every stage of my life has something to do with mental health in it. Childhood, teenage, adult life, motherhood. So it's quite it's quite a lot. But if you can guide me, I'll appreciate that.
We can start from the beginning, which is always good. And
From the
we'll get to
beginning.
move from there as we get to tell the story, as we get to learn more. And I think every step of the way, and even as one thing with counseling, we
Mm,
always insist on knowing the child development, which starts from childhood.
yes, yes,
So
yes. And I,
basically, we have to start from nearly zero as we get to move forward.
okay, then that's really great because I love to share these stories. It's also a way of healing for me because there's some events that happen and it takes quite a while to heal from them. So sharing is part of my healing journey.
Mhm.
So in when I was around 2 years, that's that story that I had because at 2 years I don't think I can remember clearly what happened, but I got the stories thereafter when I was a bit older, and I was told that I was taken away from my parents when I was only 2 years into my auntie's family, where they've raised me from 2 years to date. And being in a foster family has its beauties and also has the not so good moments. Uh, the not so good moments being that for some reason, I think it is self generated or an automatic kind of feeling that comes with being in a home that is not of your biological parents. There's certainly that yearning for a belonging. because in your mind you already know this is my family, yes, but there is that real family, the biological parents and the siblings. So for a long while I always yearned to have that strong bond with my parents, because I lived away from them for a very long time. I would only occasionally go visit on Christmas, every once in a year, or sometimes it would go beyond years to just go and visit and see them. So we lost that natural touch and bond where you can say any silly thing and not be afraid of being judged or being bashed. So for that, during that time, I remember in my primary school I was very reserved. They used to say that I'm too quiet. Actually, in the neighborhood, some people thought that I was a dumb child, that I don't talk. And it's not that I didn't want to talk. So many times when I was with my friends, we would play and everything would be normal. But when you would get to a space of class or a space of a family dining where people are all seated together, for some reason you felt you are not good enough to speak. Because at the back of my mind I would always imagine, what are they going to say when I say this? So for a very long time, I was quiet, not because I really wanted to be quiet, because I had so many stories to tell, but I just didn't know how they would receive whatever I would say. And then when you're in a family that is not like your biological family, you want to do your best. You want to do your best so that they appreciate you for the chores that you're doing on time. Like you literally be doing your best to just show that, I don't know, as if you're seeking for attention, to be recognized that yes, you are part of us. And I think most of the times this is in an individual's head, because you've already imagined that this is not my real family. So everything you're doing it to make sure that you fit in. So that somehow made me withdraw a lot. I remember even after finishing primary school, I went to boarding secondary. That was the first time I went into boarding school, and now I was at liberty to be myself, because I no longer have someone watching me or telling me to do this. Of course the teachers are there, but it's not the same. Like every time you make a mistake they yell at you. Every time you've not done this, you're running to do it because you don't want to be yelled at. So at school it was a bit different, but even then that sense of belonging did not come in still, because you would see, especially on days like visitation, you'd see people bonding with their parents. They are sharing stories and laughing about it, and you just be there admiring. You're like, I wish I also had like the same kind of rapport with my parents, even if they are my foster parents, that I can sit down and just tell them stories, even if they are not like serious stories, and we just laugh about it. And I would really admire those people. So many times on visitation I would just go sit in the dormitory and wait for whoever is going to come to visit to come through. And yes, they would come. Sometimes they would send a cousin or an uncle, an auntie, or dad would come himself, or mommy would come. But it would not be it would not be like a relaxed kind of engagement with them during the visitation, because it is more outlined. They will check out the results and then give you whatever they brought for you, and then just find out if you're sick or if you're not, and then go. There was no much time of, hey, let's
And
sit here for an hour and talk about how has school been, this. So I really felt as yearning for that thing that other people are having that I don't have that much.
Mm-hmm.
And this went on until I stepped into the workspace. Now, when I stepped into the workspace, the inferiority complex had already eaten me up.
Judy, Judy,
Yes,
I think, okay, maybe I will ask you that on a private note,
yeah.
but I would like to, if you can talk about it,
Hmm.
okay. Why were you living with the foster family, not your family?
Now that's something that is not clear to me even
Mm-hmm.
now. But
Mm-hmm.
of course, I tried to ask about it from my biological parents, and what I got to understand is that my dad fell ill at some point, and I think they were unable to have me in that space because
Mm-hmm.
his illness was more of a mental illness.
Yeah, I
And
remember. Yeah.
yes, it was more of a mental illness, and I think he would lose touch of some moments and get a bit aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the reason that they had to take me to my auntie. That's what I was told. So with that, I now extend more grace because I cannot imagine what it would have been like for me to be in that space.
In that
But I'm
space.
glad that later on they had my siblings, but they've been living together and it's been all good. Those episodes are there, but not so frequent. And he has been undergoing treatment, and yes, he's now much better. We speak, but of course the bond is not that strong because we really missed out so many years
Mhm.
of being in each other's presence. So yes.
So it is something that started. Are you the firstborn?
Yes, I'm the firstborn.
Yeah, now it's more clear.
Yes.
So after childhood, we go into teenage life.
Hmm.
Or have we talked about teenage life?
I did a bit about it when I was at school, and the visitation days would trigger me a certain way because I would be yearning for
The
what I
bond.
see other children having that I feel I do not have enough of.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then also, I shared that for some reason I was so withdrawn in terms of sharing and speaking up, and
Mm-hmm.
that really ate me up for a long while. But it's so amazing that even in my primary, my class teacher identified me, and they gave me a leadership position of a sports prefect. Now, I don't know what different thing my teacher was seeing in me because everyone else was seeing the dumb me, but then the teacher saw a leader in me. These are things that I've reflected on in my adulthood not too long ago, and I've seen those occurrences, and I was like, it's like God had placed certain individuals on every step of my way to show me that I am not this thing that I am thinking I am. So that class teacher fronted me for sports prefect, and it was unopposed, so I became a prefect just like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the best that I would do then, I used to play volleyball, but I didn't know these other games of cricket and what. My best was volleyball. So she told me, yes, you can play volleyball, and then you can be supplying the glucose for those people that are from participating, especially those that have run the race. So that is basically what I would do. There was nothing serious of speaking. It was just more of action. So that was easy to do. There was nothing like addressing the assembly or doing this and that. It was not intense. So I did that. Then in my secondary, I remember in my senior three, they were electing the class counselors. Now, in my class, as the reserved one, so I didn't really expect anyone to front my name. But it's interesting that someone still in my class saw me fit to be the class counselor and they fronted my name. So there
Mm-hmm.
was another lady that had raised her hand to be the class counselor. So the class teacher just said, we need another person just to make it a fair election. So when they fronted my name, they told us to get out, the two of us. And coming back to the class, I found they had rubbed off the other name and they had put my name, meaning that I had gone through. So that somehow intrigued me as like, why is it that people are always identifying this leader in me that me I cannot see? So that went on. I served from senior three to senior four. Those were 2 years. And then in the counselor membership for the school, they again gave me secretary of the association in the school. So that was again another leadership position. And for that one, I had to speak. I would speak with my shaky voice, but I would still speak because you would have to jot down the minutes of the previous meeting and then you read through them and update people. So I would often speak when we had meetings. Then going into university, that I did not really step into leadership because it was more it was more of like you're the one to make the choice. It is you to decide whether you want to be a leader or not. It was nothing like the lecturer will come and front your name and then force you into the leadership. So I did not embrace leadership in university, but I joined a few clubs that for just networking purposes and discussions in terms of the course units that we had. I joined the Association of Real Estate Management Students as just a member, as not a leader, as just a member. And then also I joined the NSSF Graduate into Employment. Then I joined the University Graduate into Employment Forum also. But in all those forums, I was just a member, as not a leader in any way. So I didn't have really opportunities of speaking or sharing my ideas. I would just go listen, write my notes, and move out with them. So the coin flipped when I got into the workspace.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I got into the workspace, I actually first went for an interview in an insurance company. And you know, insurance really, it's all about speaking and, and marketing the policies. So we did the training, they gave us the t shirts and the IDs, but they were not giving us any basic pay. It was purely commission based. So I really felt like that was too draining for me. It was not the thing that I wanted to step into at that time. So I just did the training, and the previous day I did not go back because I felt, how will I manage how will I manage these sales, like to go out into people's offices, that speaking about these products. Unknown to me was that the next opportunity that I was going to get was still going to be a sales job. So I got a job in a bank, and it was an entry level job where it was still selling the bank products. So this time there was at least a benefit attached to it. There was a basic pay. So I was like, at least this one has some money that can help me with a few basic needs here and there. So I took it up, and I used to make sure that I befriend people who are very, very talkative and aggressive. I would often go out with my colleagues, especially the guys, because they would ably explain all these products. Then me, I do the filling in of the forms after we share the after we share the different accounts that we've gotten for that particular day. And everyone, it became a win-win situation, so everyone would at least get something.
Mm-hmm.
Then as time went on, because of that approach, my performance was improving in terms of the accounts that I'm bringing in, and then the products, because I would do more of the reading, so I knew the details of what the product is. And these people knew the talking, but they did not know the details of what the product is all about. So it was more of teamwork. When they are not sure, I would chip in and tell them what they are supposed to say, and they would say it. But then, as I did that for about 3 months, then later on, my supervisor received an email that I've been promoted to a banking officer teller. And that came in so quick because I didn't expect it. Now, like I told you, we used to do a lot of teamwork, and I think that is what spiked my performance, because we would share these accounts, we would get a number of them and share equally. So I remember in that season we were all promoted because the performance was really good. That's the beauty of teamwork again. So when I got promoted, I was taken up country, and now, upcountry where I was taken is where my biological parents reside. So, in me, I was a little excited. I was like, maybe God has positioned me here to try and patch up those moments that I missed with my parents and just see where this journey takes me. Uh, it was so unfortunate that I thought it so, but you know how the bank work can be. There's really so much to do and little time to even spend with yourself. So that didn't quite happen like I had envisioned it. I visited them a few times, but not like I had thought that I would be in their faces all the time, because then the work was so demanding, and we would work from Monday to Saturday. You only had Sunday to yourself. So Sunday you cannot again travel and come back. Monday you have to work. So I really had to just use those moments when I had leave to try and bond with them. And I'm glad that that season also came, because at least I got a little bit. That's where I got these answers from that you were asking, because I had never asked those questions, and I didn't even know how or when to ask them. But when I visited, I asked, and that's the little that they told me, and I chose to extend grace and live with that. And unless if they are willing to unpack more, I'll be willing to listen, because it also helps me to put the closure on all these emotions that I've been feeling for a very long time. The emotions of rejection, of fear, of just being there, and you're anxious because you don't know what's going to happen next. It would help for me to get the details of what exactly happened when I was just 2 years. But with the little that they told me, I still appreciate it. So in the workspace, I got promoted again after 3 years of working as a banking officer. They promoted me to chief head teller. That's the immediate supervisor to the tellers, and then I was posted back to Kampala. Now that's where I suffered most with the syndrome of being quiet, because all my colleagues were loud people. Almost all of them were loud people, and I was the only one who was quiet and reserved. And they would always ask me, Naye, you like, what is your problem? Like, you mean you just can't talk? Every time we are here sharing stories, saying this, even in the meetings, you just sit and keep writing notes. Like, what is it about you keeping quiet? Like, you, and yet when we look at you, we see someone so intelligent, you serve the customers so well, like they like you, yet you're still new here. Like, what is that thing that you're hiding from us? So that's when I started contributing a few times in the meetings. And then the turning point was when I started going through a health crisis. I was going through so much pain and so much stress, and yet I was not even telling anyone that I'm working with. So I was just going through it alone, and a few of the family members that I had opened up to about it. But then I realized that I spent majority of my time at work, and now if I am unable to get the support at work, then how will I be able to do my job better?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's when I opened up to my team members at the time, and I first told the manager what I was going through, and I told him I've been going through this alone, trying to do it on my own terms. Like I would use the weekends, and then you notice that the doctors you're going to see over the weekends have particular days because they are specialists, and they'll give you appointments not basing on what time you have available, but rather what time they have available for you.
Available.
Yes. So it became very tricky, and that's when I was like, no, I think enough is enough. I need to open up about this so that I get the support that I need. So I told them that I was going through a health crisis and I'll need to move in and out of the office to go for treatments. And then also there's a time when I had to have the surgery done. Now, if I'd not talked, I don't know if they would have granted me the 3 months that they gave me for sick leave.
Mhm.
Now they granted me those days because they knew the gravity of the health crisis that I was going through. They supported me through it, and then when I returned, I I started working, but I was still not so like well health wise, because at the time I was still in the till and we were sitting on these raised chairs that bank tellers usually sit on. You find that your legs are not resting on the ground, but they're rather swinging in air. I can't hear you, Villain. It looks like you're muted. I can't hear you. Have I lost you? Oh, now I can hear you.
Okay.
You were saying something?
I was saying, just go ahead. I will ask. I've written the question down. I did.
Hmm.
I tried to ask, but I was saying I was going to interrupt you,
Oh
and I
no,
was
it's
going
okay.
to.
It's okay. You can always ask.
I've written it down. I'll
Mm,
ask you later.
okay. So I was sharing the bit about when I returned from the sick leave, and it just showed the power of being able to speak up when you really need help, because when you keep quiet, nobody knows what you're going through. They are not angels to understand that now Judith is going through a health crisis. Maybe that's why she's moody. Maybe that's why she's absent at work. Like they will not understand until you speak up and explain to them what exactly the problem is and how they can be of help to you. So yes, they supported me through that journey, and later on, it was, I don't know if I can go deeper into that journey. I don't know if the time will allow us.
Yes, we have a lot of time, and we are all ears here.
Yes, yes. So that journey was a reproductive health crisis journey that I had, and it had started a long time ago, but because I didn't know, I could not tell. It started off with the painful cramps. Every month you would get those painful cramps, and they would be like too painful. You fall sick, you vomit, you are literally sick, you have fever. But then every time we went to the hospital that time, they would tell me that you're still young, you can take just painkillers, you'll be fine.
Mhm.
So for the longest time, from the time I started my periods up until that time when I had the major crisis, I had never thought that the painful cramps would be such a big issue, because they had made it seem like it's a normal thing, like every woman goes through it. No one ever told me that If it's too painful and it is this bad, you need medical attention. All they did was give painkillers, and then at that point, when I had to open up to my colleagues at work, it's a point where I had now gotten symptoms and, and signs. Like I had gained so much weight in just 2 weeks. I gained 10 kgs, which was a bit abnormal. And then my stomach like grew out all big, like as if a pregnant woman. So I remember that time when I went back to work before I had the surgery. We were in lockdown, that was 2020. And I was only 29 years old by that time. So really this is something that I had thought is for older women. It doesn't affect the young women or the adolescents for that matter. So that time I remember I went out and people were saying congratulations and all these nice things. Hey, we know you're just hiding it from us. Tell us the truth. Like the comments were coming in so many, and I reached a point and I was like, no, but I know I'm not pregnant. Then this must mean that there's something that I need to pay attention to, because surely my stomach was big and you could think I'm pregnant. So when I stood in front of the mirror that evening, after the so many comments, I truly saw that there was something that was off. And now all this back pain and abdominal pains that I kept feeling, I had to now pay attention to them and find out why. Because I kept thinking maybe I'm fatigued at work. That's why I'm feeling this way. It's until I had the scan done that it was actually a bad, bad, bad crisis. That if I'd not gone in time, I don't know what would have happened next to my uterus. So they did the scan and they found several fibroids that had grown in there. But me, at first, my worry was I hope it's not a cancer. Like, I hope it's not a cancerous tumor that is going to end my life. That's the biggest worry that I had when people told me to go and check it out, since I'm sure I'm not pregnant. So when they told me there were fibroids, I had a vague idea of what fibroids were, but I did not know so much about them. So they did the scan and told me that I had about 7 of them, and the biggest was inside the uterus, implanted in a spot where the baby grows. Probably that's why my stomach was growing, because for it was perceiving that tumor as a baby. So the hormones were just doing their thing, showing all the pregnancy signs they could show. And I remember I did that scan from a different hospital, and they packed me with painkillers again and told me I should consider giving birth. But they didn't give me any clear explanation of how bad these fibroids were. So I had to visit another hospital. And when I did, that time I remember the scan showed that the first scan showed 5, and then the next scan I did showed 7. And now that's where they told me that you are an emergency case. Like, why are you even walking on the roads? You're an emergency case. By now, you should have already gone through the surgery. This is very delicate. Like, this swelling where it is located, you're still so young to lose your uterus. Now, in that consultation with a doctor, that's all I walked out with. Like, my uterus is under attack. I could lose it anytime. So the next day they told me to go to Kampala Imaging Center to do another scan, just to be sure before we do the surgery. So I did the scan, it still showed the same results. And then they checked out the fallopian tubes, and one was okay, one was partially okay. So they told me it's okay, we can have the surgery done. We had the surgery done a few days later, and they removed the fibroids. So now the pain was, the healing took about 3 months. Then later on, after the 3 months, I had to report back to work. The pain was still mild, it would be there occasionally, because now I am active. At home, I was not so active doing all the things, but at work, you will have to sit, stand, move, do this, carry the money, put here. So because of that, being too active, I started again feeling the abdominal pains and all this headache, and it was not a good thing. And being that it was in the season of lockdown, you can imagine the mental toll it took on me, because now you're not able to even meet your family physically. You're not able to meet your friend to talk to them. You call them, probably they are nursing a child, or they are cooking, or they are attending to the children or the husband, or they are busy at some online event. They keep telling you, I'll call you back later. I'll call you back later. And some would call, some would not call. So what did I resort to? I resorted to online. I would go on YouTube and watch all sorts of things regarding fertility. I would watch things regarding fibroids, all the things they've told me. And now that even made it worse. That made it worse because now I had so much information, and not all of it was helpful in my situation, because uh, they had told me about the fibroids and all this PCOS condition, the hormonal imbalance. So when you search online, you get a lot of information, and you get people who have gone through actually the worst bit of the condition that you're going through. So for some reason, it even scares you the more. That's where, after I walked this journey and had my second surgery to correct the tubes, I later had my child in the third year of this whole journey of fertility. God blessed me with a daughter. And when God, yes, God blessed me with a daughter. And because of those fertility treatments that would help me boost the eggs at the time. So when I got that blessing, there was a very strong conviction upon my life that I should help women who are going through the same. And every time I went to the hospital, I would clearly see the mood swings all over people's faces. Like, people were bitter. You know, you just look at someone like this and you can already tell this person is sad, is bitter, is anxious, is scared. And what even made it worse is that no one ever came through to just maybe like calm you down and be like, it's going to be okay. And I kept remembering, like I shared last week, I think it was on Saturday when we had an event. People, when they are going to have these HIV tests, they are prepped, they are prepared, they tell you what's going to happen, how they are going to test you after, if it is positive or negative. Like, they've already taken you through, in that even if it came out negative, yes, you're anxious, but at least you have hope that you can still live with it, or when you're positive, because they have given you options of this treatment. You can feed like this, you can do this, you can do this. So for some reason you feel comfortable that even if it came out negative or positive, I can still survive, I can still live my life to full potential. Now with fertility, that was not happening. That was not happening. You go and they tell you all these medical terms, you don't even know what it means. You try to ask the doctors, if they are lenient enough, they might just tell you a little bit about it, because they really don't have the time, because they have a long queue of couples that are waiting in the line. They could just tell you a little bit about what your condition is like. And guess what? You'll walk out with tears in your eyes. You're going to the counter, and the ladies are looking at you crying. They're like, what's wrong with this woman? Like, what's up? And then you go to make your payments, and then the cashier is even amplifying their voice. What are you paying for? Like, already the thing that you're paying for, you don't even want to say it out loud, because there are people seated there. Probably it's very private. And then this cashier is asking, "What are you paying for? Say it again. I can't hear you. How much?" And you're like, "Oh my God! I wish you knew. You would just maybe write on a sheet of paper and ask me, or just whisper, or just send me a message." So these are some of the things that I would always look at, and I'm like, no, I think if someone came in and talked about this, maybe this part of this journey can be transformed and changed for the better. Because I believe there's so many people out there who walk into the hospitals and they're told this bad news, and they don't even know what to do next. Someone
Mhm.
just goes back home with all the stress, with all the anger, and it has brought so much tension between couples because everyone is reacting differently. You don't even know how to support the person. You don't know if it is me who has the problem or it is you. It becomes very, very disturbing. But I'm grateful that in my journey, my partner was very supportive, especially in terms of the social support, because he tried to understand what I was going through. And I remember I tried so much to engage him so that we go for those sessions together, so he can see what exactly happens in this room and get to understand how bad this thing is. So it really helped me a lot, and that is the number one support that someone needs. Your
Mhm.
friends can fail to understand you, your family can fail to understand you, but the person you're walking this journey with, if they fail to understand you, you will crash completely, because that's like the last string of hope you have, that you're hanging on, and you're like, maybe this will come to pass because we are walking this journey together. So, with that, like I said, I had a very, very, very strong conviction to help women out there. So, at the time, I was still working in the bank, but I had even just gotten a promotion to being an assistant manager. So, everyone thought I should be like excited about this job opportunity that I've got. Yes, I was happy that I'd got the promotion, but not like so excited about it, because I had done this role in my previous role as a head teller. I would occasionally sit in for my supervisor when he had gone on leave, when he had some engagements. So I had done that role already, and I had done it for over, every time he went on leave, for the time that I did head tailor job for 5 years, I would always sit in. So if I would patch all the things up, I had had some good experience on that role. But I did not feel like that is where I wanted to be. Like, there's something you do for the sake of doing it, but you're not even happy doing it. Now that's how I was feeling in that moment when I got the promotion. I was like, yes, I can do this job so well, but it is not fulfilling. There's something more that I can do. And I
Mhm.
remember struggling with this decision for so long. For so long, I sat on it for like 3 years. I was like, I needed to move away from the bank and step into this, but I kept asking God, if ever you give me that testimony, that miracle, I surely
Mhm.
will have to step out and do this, which I feel so strongly. So that's how I ended up resigning from my job. But of course, it was not a one day thing. I had to plan it out. You can't just step out without knowing what's going to. You may not know it entirely, but at least let it find you prepared for those few moments that may be frustrating in terms of finance and support. Because when you leave a workspace, many times even the connections you had there cease to be connections anymore. Because you're no longer on the same course of journey. So a few of them might stay, but the majority might not. So those are things that I had to prepare for. And I was so lucky that in that time when I was frustrated and trying to make this decision, I met a lady on LinkedIn. That's the beauty of social media again. There is the bad bit of it, but there is always a good side to something. So I met a lady on LinkedIn. She's called Betty Ojel, and she had posted her story of a similar scenario that I was going through, her before and her after. Before she left the job and after she left the job, and her story was so touching. Like, it truly inspired me and impacted me in a very, very deep way. I remember I read the story and I immediately reached out to her on the DM. I told her, I've read your story and this is the situation that I am in now, and I'm stuck with making a decision. So later on, she actually told me later that at that point she was in Malawi offering sessions to people, career guidance.
Mhm.
And she got back to me immediately and gave me her WhatsApp number. So we started chatting over it. And later on, she she told me of how she has been in formal employment, and she has also had those frustrations where she felt she was like mental, she had a mental block at some point, and she's like, I have done it all, I've got the awards, I have got all the certificates on this journey of growing my career, and I feel like if I push any one more week onto this, they will get me, they will just come to bury me in the village because I am not okay. I just need to step out and realign and just focus. So that's when I was like, oh, so it's not just me going through this. People have gone through this before. Again, the beauty of having support, like ask, just speak up about that problem that you have. You don't know who is listening or who can help you with it. So if I just read the story and kept quiet, I don't know, maybe I would have not made the decision and got frustrated even further. So she offered me, she sponsored a fully funded opportunity for me to be mentored under her mentorship program, the Momentum Mentorship.
Mhm.
And that was like a proper sign of I am in the right direction, because how is it that someone can pay for me 12 months of mentorship? 12
That's
months of
mhm.
mentorship. How is it that someone can just pay and be like, I'm going to walk with you on this journey until December? And yes, we've been walking this journey from January, and here I am today sharing about it. I cannot begin to explain how this has transformed my life completely,
Mhm.
because she made me see the potential that I had within me to do this thing that I was convicted to do. And I remember when she announced that she's going to have masterminds in leadership and communication, I signed up immediately. I had to look for that money to do the leadership and the communication class, because that was one thing that I really needed to be able to do this thing that I wanted to do so badly. And remember, like I told you, as reserved and quiet. Now, to get out of that comfort zone and be on social media, be on audio events, sharing here and there, that's something that was not going to just come naturally without me taking any actions. That's why I took on the mastermind, and also the mentorship really helped me to be in a space of people who are like minded and going through something similar. So
Mhm.
it helped me to build confidence. Then later on, I also found Miss Muthoni Njoroge. She was announcing about personal branding. Now, at that point, me, I was just on LinkedIn to look for jobs that align with what I wanted to do. That's when I came across the story, and then somehow I changed my mind, because even the feedback I was getting from these job offers were not the good feedback. They would tell you, thank you for applying and for showing interest, but we regret telling you that you did not make it. Maybe you can try again next time.
Mhm.
I tried applying for like several jobs, and that's the only thing that I was getting. So I asked myself, if the job I have is not fulfilling and this conviction I have is too strong, and I'm trying to step out to do something, another job that aligns, and there is no opportunity, what is it supposed to mean for me? That's when I decided that let me walk the journey with Betty. And then I signed up for the personal branding. It was a boot camp of 14 days. I did it, and it helped me to get more clarity on actually what I wanted to do, because the course was very vigorous. You had to be active, like on LinkedIn, post every single day, and your post will be reviewed and they'll guide you on where you should correct, where you should put more emphasis. and be clear so that you build an audience towards the direction that you want to take. And I cannot even begin to share how I made I made certain decisions that helped me to grow on the LinkedIn platform, and I am transitioning the same on two other platforms like uh, like Instagram. I also want to try out YouTube. Villain is my inspiration on that. I'm yet to try it out, but
Thank you.
small steps, one step at a time. I'll get there.
Mhm.
So when I signed up for the communication class and the leadership class, after the graduation, of course, you have to ask the question, what next? So I had to make up my mind on how am I going to make money out of this thing that I've decided to do. If I have stepped out of my job, I have to continue eating, I have to continue with my other basic needs. I think life will continue. So how am I going to make ends meet? And that's when I created a link where people can reach out and ask about my services, and those that find value in it can sign up for it. And I was lucky that I got some two paying clients in this. Actually, it was in last month, last no June. June, I got some two paying clients. One was from the US, a lady who was going through a fertility crisis also, and then another was in Germany. Then here in Uganda, I've mainly done one-on-one sessions with a few women, and I did not share that while I was going through fertility, when I conceived, I started getting very many referrals because because people were so intrigued about my miracle. They had seen me struggle. Even the customers at work had seen me struggle. You're out for surgery, you're back. Like they saw me. So when they saw me heavy, they would be excited like it was our baby. It was our baby. So they would reach out and give me numbers of women who are going through the same, and they just tell you, just share with them and your story. You never know, they will be impacted or inspired to also walk their journey. And that's how the dream just kept on building up. And I remember the very first person that I engaged was referred to me by a customer. And this lady had been married 5 years, married in church, 5 years, no baby. And all this while, yes, she had done very many tests and she had taken very many herbals and all that, but it had never crossed her mind to like consider visiting a fertility specialist. Yes, she had visited hospitals, general hospitals, and they would tell her the same things they used to tell me, that they just manage you with painkillers and they don't really tell you what the problem is. So when I shared my story with her, I told her, how about you go and have a fertility specialist check you out, like thorough checkup, so they can see where the problem is. And she accepted and went to actually the doctor that had helped me with my journey. She went there and they did her scan and they told her one of the tubes is blocked. It was, I think, the left tube. So they did a surgery, and later on she also started her treatment plan, the fertility treatment plan. So
Mhm.
5 months later into her treatment, she calls me and she tells me, Judith, I have something to tell you. Now, in this period, we had been talking. She called me and she told me she has something to tell me. Now, if you've been talking to someone for a long while, you can already tell this person is excited from their tone, or they are sad,
Mhm.
or they are
Yeah.
bitter. So when she talked to me, her voice sounded like it was so exciting. Whatever she wanted to tell me was nice. So I reached out and called her and told her, I think I know what you want to tell me. It is a positive, right? And then she's like, what? How did you know that it's a positive? I've been wanting to tell you, but I didn't even know how to tell you because I've really gone through a lot. I don't know how to tell my husband. I don't know why I have told you first. And then she sent me the screenshot of the test kit that was having two lines. We screamed about it. We were so excited. And then later on, she told the husband and told a few people that she wanted to tell. Then, as she progressed on her pregnancy, at around 7 months, she calls me again and she says this time she has visited the hospital and she has done her scan for the first time. And she has something to tell me. Of course, she still sounded excited. And I told her, are they two babies? Are they twins? And she's like, yes, they are twins. How did you know? I'm like, no, like when you've been speaking to someone for long, you can tell when they are happy. And of course, what will make a woman that has waited 5 years for a baby happy? It is a positive test, twins, or even multiples more than twins. So she told me, wow, like I don't know, God has just positioned you in this journey of my life for a reason. And she kept saying, these are your babies. Now she when I visited her, she kept saying, your twins are here, your boys are here. And you don't know how that made me feel. I felt like indeed I'm a mother to these kids because we have walked that journey from the beginning to the end. And that was a confirmation to me of sorts that yes, this thing that I am doing is actually valid and it is valuable. So that's when I stepped into it and been speaking about it, sharing my story on every platform that I get. So far I've got like 9 speaking engagements, this one being the ninth from Feb to
Mhm.
share this story. I've shared this story on podcasts, I've shared this story on YouTube,
Wow.
I've shared this story everywhere. And that's why I was saying that sharing my story is another way of me healing, because sometimes I even forget that I've gone through all these dark moments. So when
Mhm.
I share it, like you something in your mind clicks and you're like, wait a minute, did I just go through all this? And you begin to see the beauty of life, the beauty of connections, of support, social support, and the beauty of believing that there's a God above all these things that we go through. And I cannot even say it enough that when I was going through this crisis, like I thought that's the moment I should be like, God, I'm done with you. Like, I'm done. How can you make me suffer like this? But surprisingly, it's the moment that I became closer to God, because I think in that moment of lockdown, there was not so much to do in terms of social support. So I
Mhm.
guess there was no other way I could do it but to just run back to God. And I remember watching so many sermons that would be uplifting, and then you get out saying that I have got my healing, I am going to be healed, I will be a mother one day. And I remember also journaling a lot. I would write my thoughts, and that is one tool that helps a lot with handling stress and mental issues. Like when you're going through something, write it down. Good or bad, write it down. It really helps a lot with dumping your thoughts and all those negative emotions and the happy emotions on paper. Like when you get a pen to write, your brain immediately starts to work. And when you write, it is highly impossible that you will forget what you've written. So
Mhm.
many of the times, even when I revisit my journal right now, I can clearly see that this has been a journey from way back, that I've been asking God to show me purpose through my struggles. And
Mhm.
now that He has shown me the purpose, why shouldn't I believe that He's the one going to lead me on this purpose that I've been asking Him to show me? So many times I had the fear of unknown, and we all know we've all gone through fear. Fear of the unknown is something that doesn't come in easily. Like it comes in easily, but managing it is not easy. But if you choose to be intentional about it and you recognize, I like to refer to the 7 stages of fear, because they really help me understand. They help me understand how to deal with fear. You start by being aware. Like, are you aware that you fear that thing? Like, are you aware? Recognize it. recognize it, and the potential it brings that is threatening to you. When you recognize it, you'll find ways of working around it. Then there is the apprehension, feeling anxious and uneasy. Apprehension, feeling anxious and uneasy. That one, we all feel like there's a point we are all nervous. We do not know what's going to happen next. We don't know what to do next. These are things that happen to us in our day-to-day lives. And I've learned to recognize fear and acknowledge that it is there, acknowledge those feelings of anxiety. Then the fear itself is the sense of terror and worry. You're constantly worried. Oh my God, will this thing work out? Like, will it work? If I speak up, will they understand me? Just speak up, just do that thing. However scared you are, in the end, you will know whether it will work or not. But if you don't do it, then you will never know if it was going to work or if it was going to fail. So then the other stage is the panic stage. That one usually is when you are overwhelmed, like you are overwhelmed with all these emotions, and you start panicking. You don't know what to do first, what to come next, and it becomes very, very, very daunting on you. You tend to withdraw away from people because you don't want people entering into your business, and then you end up suffering alone in the quiet zone. Then there's that bit of freezing, like when you've withdrawn from society, you'll reach a point and you will freeze because you don't know what to do next. You just pause and be unable to move. And I've had those moments several times, in especially in that health crisis journey. I really had those moments. Like, you would just pause and be. Sometimes you're like, "Oh, why should my life just end? Because what am I living for if I cannot have a healthy life?" Then there is the flight, the attempt to escape. We cannot escape many of the times. We have to go through it. You just have to accept and go through the process. Like, even this nice jewelry that we find, the nice gold shining jewelry, it didn't start off like that. They had to go and mine this gold from underground, then they bring it out and they refine it, and they put those different shapes of an anklet, a ring. It didn't start like that. So accept accept to go through these phases. And then the eighth is acceptance. Acceptance is when you resign from you resign and just give up. You're like, me, the thing, I am always so scared of it, I can never even attempt to do it. Now you cannot live your life like that, because you will just miss out on so many opportunities because you fear to try out something. Then the last that I can say is the resolution. Find a way to cope. That is the last, like, find a way to cope. Like, I've shared my story. When I was going through this fertility phase, I just don't know. I didn't want to open up, like, to tell people about what I was going through, because I kept imagining they would be talking behind my back and telling me how I'm infertile and telling me how I am barren and saying all these nasty things. But unknown to me is that if you open up, who knows, like, that person you're thinking is going to throw stones at you could actually give you a hug and be like, it's going to be okay. So let's not let's not do the work of God like, to be able to judge what is going to happen even before it happens. That's not in our control. What is in our control is you seek for help and see how things turn out. If you seek for help and it doesn't come through, knock on the next door. The other person might help and this one might fail to help. So those are the things that have really helped me deal with my fear. And I would also like to share that now I am so comfortable speaking. Unlike before, I'm so comfortable speaking, and I'm so honored and humbled to always share my story, because I know there's a certain someone out there who is silent, but they have brilliant ideas to share with people. So if they hear me speak, they'll be like, hey, this person has gone through my phase. Now that means I can also talk. The moment that you have the voice, you have the mouth, like there's someone who is completely dumb, not because they really wanted to be, but they can write books and novels and you read and get impacted. How about you who can say it out loud? Like, why wouldn't you say it? Why wouldn't you say it? Just speak whatever is in your mind. If it is wrong, they will correct you. If it is right, they'll push you to improve. And that has really helped me a lot. And I'm just I'm just getting to love my voice even more. Sometimes I record and go back to listen, and I'm like, does this really sound like me? And like I've told you, when I met Coach Betty Ojel, she was at one point going to give a speech. She was going to be the guest of honor at Toastmasters Club here in Kampala. And I just went there to show support that this is my mentor. She has done a lot for me. So I showed up, and I was the only mentee that showed up for that meeting. So she was also like intrigued. She was so happy about it. She's like, wow, you're very intentional. You're taking action towards your growth. Now, in that meeting, everything that was shared that day, she was sharing from career to calling. That was my message. That was my message. I listened to that presentation, and when it was done, I immediately reached out to the person that was in charge of members, new members. And I told them that I'm a guest today, but the next time I come here, I'm coming back as a member, because this is a growth space that I feel is going to push me to grow out of my comfort zone. And it's going to help me to practice in terms of leadership and communication. And so I am signing up for this. And I remember the next day I got the money and paid up for the membership fee. And when I paid up for the membership fee, they have activities in the club that keep on going. So there's also a course that you pick a pathway that you want to take. And I picked a pathway of effective coaching, because that is what I was doing and that is what I'm doing at the time. So I picked a pathway of effective coaching, and then I had to give my icebreaker speech in front of like over 50 people. which which I had not done before, and it was a good experience, because that day when I got the feedback that stood out was, I have a strong voice. And that is something I had never ever thought that I had. Now someone else is seeing it after I have come out, and I've never even thought that I have a strong voice. So the next speech that I was going to deliver, actually that first speech that I delivered was an icebreaker speech, and I remember my title was amplifying my voice for. It was amplifying my voice for silent conversations. Now, the silent conversations being fertility, because no one talks about fertility. Like, people shy away from speaking about fertility. And this saw me host a doctor all the way from India on Zoom, and we had over 80 people that were on Zoom from different parts of the world. That was so humbling. As like, so all this talent, I have been seated on it, telling myself how I am inadequate, how I cannot speak up. Now, the moment I stepped out of that comfort zone, like opportunities just kept coming, opportunities to speak, opportunities to lead. In the Toastmasters Club, I was appointed the vice president membership. First speech I have given. Now that I did not even like, no one over came to me and told me, hey, today we are having people that are being elected for leadership position. No one prepped me. I just did my speech and sat down. Then when the evaluator gave his report, later on, she asked people, what do you remember about Judith's story? Like everyone had something to say. Ex-banker, another one said a fertility coach, another one, like they all had something to say from that 5 minute speech. And then I remember the president at the time, the outgoing president, was like, we have leadership positions that people can undertake, but there's just one position that is left. There were two, secretary and then vice president membership. Now, secretary, she immediately appointed the person that was seated next to her because she saw her noting in the notebook and she was like, this could be someone that can do this job. Now, me, when she first asked how many ladies have given speeches today, so me, I raised my hand because I had given a speech. Now, the lady who was seated in the corner who was timing our speech thought that I had raised my hand for the position of vice president membership. And she fronted my name and said, we've already got a VPM. And that's how I became the vice president membership of the club. So up until now, I've been performing the tasks. They've given me what my role is all about. And I keep doing my pathway as I also do this other leadership role. And I cannot thank God enough for these opportunities because I, I really see a brighter future ahead of me if I utilize these potentials that I have deep down within me. I like I like what Bishop T.D. Jakes says that each and every one of us has that greatness that is buried within you, but it can only take you one single step to take action to bring it out. Unless you bring it out, no one will ever know that it is deep down there. Like they will not come searching. You're not gold that they'll come and search for you. If you don't, they will not know about it and you go with it to the grave, and no one will ever know that Judith was a great speaker. No one will ever know that Judith helped women to go through fertility struggles. No one will ever know if you keep it to yourself and keep quiet. So again, speak up and always speak up about any opinion, any ideas, and yes, you'll have your way out. Long story. I think I can hand it back to you, Villain.
Thank you, Judy. You have always been one who is closer, a close friend. We have always talked about so many things, and uh, the
Mm,
the one thing I like about your stories, they are always consistent. They are always inspiring. And earlier we were talking about fear, and you have come up with 7 stages of fear. That was a challenge enough.
mm,
And one thing I've always liked about you, you are not shy to mention people who have, you are not shy to give a shout out to people who have helped you along the way. And someone like Betty O'Gill,
Ojiel.
yeah,
Mm,
you have mentioned her so many times when we speak, and tell her we will like to host her soon so that we can also hear from her. I've
mm,
always joined her sessions because of you. And then there's this doctor friend you have always mentioned. And yeah, we would like to talk to her also and get to hear how she helps other people. Because
yes,
basically, we talk about mental health awareness, and so many people have different stories about mental health that can help others. It's not
yes.
basically something that is supposed to help us alone, but when we do it, we have others in mind.
Mm,
And the other thing I've liked so much is that you have always maintained that your partner has been a source of help to you. And
yes.
Hello? And
Hello,
yeah,
can hear you.
life continues. Life is a journey, and the more we walk together, the more we reach more and we
Yes.
inspire more. So,
Mm.
who have I left out that you have always given a shout out to?
Miss Muthoni Njoroge, the Linkstin
Yeah,
Lioness.
yeah, the live I skipped in on Saturday.
Mm.
Yeah, I attended
Yeah.
part of the
And there are
session.
also friends that have always been with me in this journey. If I can give them a shout out, they'll be so excited.
Kindly.
There's Chaco Jocelyn, there's Kemigisa Juliet, and there is Kaite Silona and
Mhm,
Natukwera Aida. Those four ladies like are very pivotal in my fertility journey. Like they walked with me even on days when they were busy, they would at least fix time for you. I remember Ida even took me out for a spa day and took me out for lunch. Like those are small acts of kindness that someone can never forget.
mhm,
So don't hesitate to help that person that really needs your help. It could be just a cup of tea, it could just be a hug. You do not know what that would mean for that person on the journey.
mhm.
Yes.
And we always talk, and I think we will have another session to talk more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Always look forward to them.
And
Uh,
then, yeah, we always, I always enjoy talking to people. I always enjoy sharing my conversations that so many others can learn from them, and so
mm,
many others can get help from them because these are things that at times they are hard to speak out.
yes,
Something like
yes.
fertility is something that so many people shy away from, and fertility has a more traditional approach to it where it's always assumed
Yes, yes, yes. And
one gender based problem. And then the second thing is always assumed that it's not something to discuss openly.
no, no, no. It
And
should
then
be. It should end in your bedroom. Like it shouldn't come out of the bedroom. Then
then the
you
other
struggle
thing
with it, and it chokes you to death.
Then the other thing is mental health that people are not so open to talk about counseling and therapy. This is something that
Mm,
when you ascribe to it is when you will know the benefits. It's not
yeah,
just something that you just overlook easily, but when you go through the process, you will get to understand how it benefits your day to day, how it
mm,
benefits your two from 8 to 5 normal work hours and how it benefits your family, the children you are raising, the colleagues you work with. And yeah, it's always a learning process. I learn a lot from listening to people speak, and I
yeah.
learn as we listen and I learn as we talk most of the time. So I'm always grateful. I'm always happy. You people give me
I'm
so
also happy. I'm also happy. Yes, it's good for people to know that they are not the only ones that are going through a mental health crisis. Like it, it is not something that is so outrageous that you can't talk about. At least mental health is even easier to talk about than fertility. So people should speak about it more. And I was just reading something recently, and it was a UNICEF report, and it showed that adolescents aged 10 to 19,
Mhm,
about 37 million people
mhm,
in between that age are
mhm,
going through mental health disorders, and that's quite a big in Africa only. That's quite
mhm,
a big number that shows you that it's not even only the adults that are going through mental health crisis. Like even the children are, and it's upon us, the adults, to pave a way for the children to be open about these discussions. How many
mhm.
times have you asked your children how they are feeling? Or how they have been at school, like what would they like to tell you that they've not told you before, so that you get to know, is my child being bullied, is my child going through painful periods and they're unable to tell me, like small things that can help us to identify these early signs, and we avoid so much problems that could pile up in the future.
Yeah, and I'm so happy because you have been open with this journey, and we'll need to create more time to talk about it. We need to create time to bring other people to also give us their stories.
Mm,
I think the set time for today's meeting is like 30 seconds away, and we have achieved our goal
yeah.
for today.
Right on time. Oh, we
So
tried to summarize the stories because they are really lengthy stories.
we'll do more on fertility, we'll do more on mental health, because this is something that we have been doing, and now we are doing it at a larger scale and trying to help others who we can't reach normally, who can't come to
Mm,
our one-on-one sessions. And
yes.
uh, definitely I'm learning a lot. I'm learning so much, and I thank you people for always being around and giving
There's
some.
always an opportunity to learn, like learning just never ends, like they say it. Every
So
day you're learning something new.
it was pleasure having you, Judy. See you soon.
I'm more than humbled to be here. I can come back any day, anytime.
Say hi to those people who are in Kampala.
Oh, yes, I sure will. Starting with my family. Then the next.
Okay, have a nice one. Have a nice evening. See you
You
soon.
too, you too. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.